Hello, everybody. Sorry for the bit of the false start there. One or two of those wonderful technical issues that frequent us on a regular basis. Anyway, I'm back again and gonna go for another little piece of history and get this kind of recorded, documented, and saved up so that we can have it on YouTube for anyone to watch as and when. Okay, so the wonderful topic for today is stashed away in the Internet Archive of the Wayback Machine that my good friend Gustav Olsen pointed me towards. And basically, it's the archive of the internet, if there is such a thing that's so big, etc., 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 that it's probably practically impossible to store everything. And from a certain point of view, there's loads of rubbish there and loads of good stuff. And you kind of have to hunt around to find the good stuff. So within the web archive, you can look at things that have been there historically. And this is actually the Wizards of the Coast. There's a little icon. You might notice the maneuvering ace in there and this little blackjack in the title, and they've even got www.alphastrike.com in the banner, which is quite bizarre for Wizards to advertise something outside of their own realm. So anyway, wizards.com, Battletech or whatever else. You can look at some of the other products that they've done if they've been stored away, and there are 4 captures between, or 4 snapshots of this website between 8th of April 2000 and February. Okay, so the reason, and this website changed a bit as well, so some of the links are still working and what have you. I am going to go through and actually have a look at their decks. There's a nice one from Adam Conus, which is a good bit of fun. There's a horrible one from JG Wilker, who didn't last too long at Wizards of the Coast. But today I want to have a look at a particular deck that was basically the cause for some bannings that went on very early in the game. The game came out in fall, as you Americans call it, autumn 96, and I got my first pack for Christmas. Thank you to Neil Rawlings that bought me it. And started to build a collection. And the first Worlds was the following year in about June 97. And what happened as the community developed and people started buying cards and playing that game, it was quite obvious that the clans in the very early stages had quite a distinctive advantage when it came to the game. From the amount of fast speed-wise mechs that they could field on the table, and the amount of damage they did, and that led to the abuse of this particular combo that we're going to have a look at in a minute. But this is the official post, and the official deck, and the official reasons. I'm not actually that sure how good this deck is, because I think there are a number of obvious inclusions and updates here that should have been included in this deck. And we'll talk about them and what might make this deck even more potent, and what happened afterwards. So this is their official page, their announcement, and it says there are only 3 cards banned in DCI's sanctioned BattleTech tournament rules. So you've got to understand that this post was made 6 months after the game was launched. This was made about February time. I'm not sure if there's a date on it. No, there isn't. There isn't actually a date on this particular post of when it came about. But it was made about February, March, April time before Worlds in June. And there were loads of people that were trying to reinvent this deck and play it at Worlds, which didn't happen. And when you look at the top 8 in Worlds, obviously there's the Peter Sundholm deck. There is the Terry Bora deck. I'll just have a quick gander here. There is the Yik Swarm deck. Rick Bird basically plays a wolf deck, somewhat similar to Peter's. Ralph Anderson in 5th plays an Innisphere deck. Jim Keeley playing Clan Wolf again. Few dashes, few Koshus, few Man of Wars. It's very much a durable, and then the last couple of decks from Mike Fitzgerald and Barry Young were both Davian. So it was 3 Wolf, 3 Davian, or is that 4 Wolf? Peter, Rick, and Jim Keeley played Wolf, so that's 3 Wolf, 4, 5 Davian, and a Steiner deck in the top 8. So none of the Ghost Bear decks, which this was based on, actually made it anywhere after this. So for dominating straight away, it got absolutely kicked in the teeth. So anyway, the first card, Effective Groundwork, they admit, was banned before the ink was dry. So we printed it, but you can't use it. Sorry guys, why not? Why bother printing it? I've just paid money for something that I can basically use to light a fire. Not great. Okay. And then it says the other two, Dasher D and the Elite Met Warrior, remained part of the tournament play for some time before they were banned as well. The Evil Dasher deck. Now, I don't know why it's called the Evil Dasher deck. Shouldn't it be called the Elite Dasher deck? Because it's the combo of the Elite Mech Warrior along with the Dasher D that really is the crux of this. So the evil Dasher deck is the main reason for this decision was made. When played correctly, the deck should win 70% to 80% of the time, even with one of the banned cards being removed. I very much disagree with that. I think you could probably get away with removing Elite Mech Warrior. I think if you take Dasher D out of the equation, then we'll see, but I don't like the wording on it. Hey ho. So this version of the deck was common when cards were banned. So it means this is the deck that was being played that they used to make the decision about banning the cards. Not this is the version that was played once the cards had been banned. Okay. Only cards from the core set in the first expansion, Counter-Strike, were used. Yes, that was all that was available at that point. While the cards have been released in Mercenaries and Mech Warrior expansions that make it easier to handle this particular Evil Dasher deck. Yes, there's a lot more Inner Sphere fast mechs to block. I don't think there is any substitute for Elite Mech Warrior and the problems that brings. Certainly, when you look at the some of the deck, the fast mechs, you look at the Spectre, you look at something like the Wraith, for example, on the Inner Sphere point of view, it stands up to this deck very well. It costs the same as most of the Dasher D and the Dasher B, and it survives the battle with them. And more recent Evil Dasher versions have been improved with cards from newer expansions. I'm again not sure what they think about that. Are they hinting at Boom Wolf or not? I don't know. So this is their deck, and it's a bit different. And yes, I ran one of these, but I'll tell you what, I didn't run most of these cards. I ran a number of them because of the core mechanics, but I didn't run this version. And I'm not convinced that this version is actually that great. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop the deck list, over on this side where of course it will automatically resize itself and get in the way of everything. And then over on Lackey, let's just pull that out a bit and bring this in. I'm just going to try and build it a little. Let's see, get a bit more on the screen. That's fine. So the core of the deck are the Dashers and the good old Prime, Mr. Spanky. There are 6 of those. There are 6 of the Dasher D, and this is the real killer. And when you look at it, 0, 2, 3. Overheat 1+3, that gives it 6 damage, and if you can get to another one with a magic 7, it's going to kick an awful lot of bottom. And also the Dasher B, which again you don't see much of. I think there are a couple in Chad's Invading Clan deck in the One Worlds in 2000, mainly because of the dash ability, and it's got AP, which is quite nice, and extra damage on it, and it's got ECM. And yep, it's a card game. It's not tabletop, as I've said very many times. ECM, electronic countermeasures, prevent overheat damage. Yes, there's no science behind it. It's a card game. It's a mechanic. It's how it works. Prevent one damage or give it one armor. Okay, so there's three of those. And okay, that's a bit heavy on curve. We've got 2 cost, 4 cost. In fact, we've got 9 4-cost units, and 6 2 costs. So there's that gap of the 3-cost clan unit again, and then they go with 2 Mana Wars and 2 Dragonfly A's, and Mana War the Prime, a 3/7/4 5-cost. There's 2 of them, and there's 2 Dragonflies. And they go with the A variation, the 1/5/4 jumper, which seems strange. Okay, I can understand the A, maybe it's fast, you can overheat it for 6, and if you put the right pilot on it to get the 7, and the Mana War's just a couple of blockers. I'm not sure. And there are 19 mechs in the deck, which is quite small. Let's deal with the nasty one first, the Elite Mech Warrior. And this is the card. If there was a card that made this deck work, it's this card. Because it prevents blocking. Okay, the Elite Mech Warrior, 1 cost, 2 tactics buyout, +1 initiative, +1 attack. Okay, +1 attack on your Dragonfly A gets you to the Magic 7, or more importantly, the Dasher D gets you to the Magic 7, and the Dasher dashes. So out it goes straight away. Put an Elite Mech Warrior on it, 7 damage, kill a resource, kill a stockpile, what have you. Okay, but it's the wording on Elite Mech Warrior that really tips this over the edge. If mech piloted by Elite Mech Warrior is fast, which our Dasher and our Dragonfly A both are, it cannot be blocked except by a fast mech guarding the target. So it's not in the patrol region, that's a fast mech guarding. And that is a real ball ache for Inner Sphere at this point in the game. If we just look and let's do a little filter. Let's get rid of that. Doesn't contain that. Let's go with type and unit. Alignment is Inner Sphere, and speed is fast. Then if we organize these by unlimited and Counter-Strike, this is what you have to stop your Dasher, which is doing 7 damage. Okay, it's overheating 1 to itself. So you have the Hermes. If it's guarding, you can have the Hermes. The Hermes, this poor version of the Spider, this Assassin, and this Jenna. Everything's going to die horribly. Okay, the Dasher's going to die. But they don't. They're awful. And then we have the Cicada, this being probably the better version, the Marek version, but rarer. Another Jenna, this Assassin, Hussar, Mercury. Mongoose, probably the best anti-Dasher card if it's just a Dasher Prime. But against anything else, this is going to die. And it won't kill the Dasher B. Remember, the Dasher B has ECM, so it's effectively a 1/2/3. In fact, it's effectively a 1/2/4 if you include the AP against the stockpile. Our Mongoose is not going to kill it, and neither's our little Spider. And they have to be guarding. There are not a lot of Inner Sphere units. They are not very durable, and our Dasher is going to absolutely slaughter them. Obviously, later in the game, when we do something and end up with something like a Wraith, a 173 jumper for 4 cost versus your Dasher D at 4, 2A, 1M, 1T. The Wraith looks like it's a much superior, much better unit. Okay, it hasn't got the damage output, but by God, it's got the survivability. So, yeah. So the Elite Mech Warrior ability of restricting things to not only be guarding but be fast when guarding is what made this deck the overpowered beast that it was. The other option that you might consider at this point is the good old Maneuvering Ace, who is the Elite Mech Warrior's poorer younger brother. Single initiative bonus, not an attack. Mech piloted by Maneuvering Ace may attack and block as if 1 speed faster. If mech piloted by Maneuvering Ace is fast, it cannot be blocked except by mechs guarding the target. Now, there is a world of difference between guarding the target and fast mech guarding the target. Even a slow mech can guard, it can block the Maneuvering Ace. So when people tried to recreate this using Maneuvering Aces and different mechs, they found that the potency was nullified because you could play cheaper units and block, and then that would, provided you've got a couple, 2 or 3 damage around, kill off the dashers. The thing with the Elite Mech Warrior was that you could get ahead with the dashers, and not only gain the tempo that Clan needs with the dash mechanic, but put your opponent on the back foot, and the tempo is doubled. And what I mean by that is that with your Dasher D doing 3 plus another 3 off the overheat and 1 for the Elite Mech Warrior, you can kill a resource. So if you can get 2 of these on the table, your opponent can put 2 down a turn, but you can kill both of them. Plus you've got your deployments. And at that point, the game is won. You have so much tempo. You are basically nullifying what he can do each turn, and then you're just going to snowball and steamroller him. Okay, and this is how this deck won. One of the interesting cards, or 2 of the interesting cards that Wizards ran is, and I really can't use the search at the moment, is the Ferrofibrous Armor. Play it on a mech, add 1 to the mech's armor. So you would put this on the Dasher D. It would give it 1 armor, which would sink the overheat. Yes, it's still a card game. Yes, that's mechanic. Overheat is sunk by armor. All right, we know it doesn't happen in the scientific world. Okay. But the other reason why this was quite good is it's a free deployment. Yay, and you draw a card, which is even better. The other option was the extra armor plating, which prevents 2 damage. Draw a card when you reveal it, and it's an extra deployment. I'm not sure you need both. In fact, I'm pretty confident that you don't need both. Prevent 2 damage and scrap extra armor plating is definitely nowhere near as good as 1 damage from a permanent ferrofibrous armor. If you use your overheat once and prevent it and use it again, it's the same. But if your mech survives and you use it and gets used a 3rd or 4th time, you are definitely in credit with your ferrofibrous armor. So although they included extra armor plating, a lot of people didn't even run either of them, to be honest. They ran more units and they ran more missions. But Wizards put them in order to cycle the deck and move through the deck to pick the cards that you need. Yes, you can stack them. That'd be quite a good stack, but you only need so much. And when I ran it, I think I had a couple of ferrofibrous in there. That was it. It was probably the limit of my collection at the time. But I ran lots more of the way of aggressive missions. When you look to their missions, move to partial cover. Choose one of your mechs, prevent up to 2 damage to it. Yeah, it's fine. Pushing the envelope. Again, seems a strange choice. Get +3, but do 3. If you're going to play it on your Dasher, you're going to kill it. If you play it on your Dragonfly, having overheated the Dragonfly, you're practically going to kill it. Anything assigning 1 point of damage to it is going to kill it. It seems a strange choice. It seems a strange choice where you have things like, so let's get rid of those lots. Superior navigation, where you can attack and untap. I mean, Dasher D with Elite Mech Warrior for 7, superior navigation, untap and get +4 and attack again. He's 18 cards. That's crazy. And then they have 8 assembly, 5 munitions, and they have 6 tactics. And that's how the deck ran. The idea being you get your Dasher D and Elite Mech Warrior out as early as possible and do something with it. Why they have 5 Elite Mech Warriors, I don't know. Why they have Man of Wars in here, I don't know. I suspect they're blockers, but if you're going to win, you're going to be that far ahead. You don't need them. Yeah, the guy might send a couple of mechs over, but in reality, you're just going to absolutely slaughter him next turn. So the question is, what's missing? Well, it's a Ghost Bear deck. Why isn't Bjorn in there? +5? Dasher D, Overheat, +5, 11, Superior Nav, 15, Untap, another +11. You could practically Dasher D, Bjorn, Superior Nav, Untap is where are we? 6, 11, 15 plus another 11, 26 cards. The guy would lose on 28 cards. I mean, that on turn 4 is crazy. So what you found was that yes, people would put Elite Mech Warriors in there. They would drop the pushing the envelopes. They would play 4 or 5 superior navs. They would drop the. Let me get rid of that one. Let's get drop that. They would remove the extra armor plating. They wouldn't play with the Man of Wars. What else would they put in there? There were cases where, because people were afraid of blockers, you would get people using Inside Job. But they would just go for damage. So Rampage was an option. Play if unblocked, scrap a card from your stockpile and roll 1 to 6. Your mech gets 1 to 6 attack. It's not bad. I used to play Satchel Charges. And you'll notice there's no black market connections in here either. Before BMC came out, then what did you do with your cards? So I would play plenty of Satchel Charges and throw my resources at this. You know, if you attack with Bjorn the next turn and you play Satchel Charges, you can get another 6 damage off it. Simple as that. So you could drop something like that in without too many problems. So obviously, Elite Mech Warrior got banned. The restrictions on that are just too game breaking. And even when you look at tweaking it to make it playable, then the way Michael tends to go about it is to change the card as little as possible, adding or removing a word here or there to make it playable. You can't do it because if you remove the fast mech guarding the target and just make it guarding the target, then it's maneuvering ace with +1 attack. I suppose maybe you could argue that. You could argue that because you're paying 0.3T for a maneuvering ace, and Elite Mech Warrior you're paying 1.2T. So you're paying 1 extra for 1 attack. They both have 1 initiative. I suppose you could do that, but other than that, you are seriously changing a lot of the text on this card. You could give it 1 attack, 1 initiative, and another +1 that you could move between them. For example, you could also give it +1 attack, +1 initiative, prevent 1 damage, or even add another 1 to that you could assign between initiative, attack, and prevention. So you can prevent 2 if you wanted and do 1 attack and 1 initiative, or you could have 2 initiative if you got the mission cards and 1 attack and prevent 1. The main thing here is that it'll take quite a lot to rechange it, and doing it on with small amounts is quite tough and not workable. I do love the picture, by the way. I just get Green Goblin feelings and whatever else. One of the ones I like. Okay, when it comes to the Dasher, this one is actually not that bad nowadays. This is the bit where they say about it was superseded or easier to handle in newer variations. And the reason is this Dasher D. As we all know, I did the Gorge Master the other week. Yes, the Rocky Gorges were in there for another reason, but the fact that they were particularly good against most things and absolutely slaughtered this type of deck because of the 2 armor on 2 structure, on the Dasher, made it quite strong. The problem with this unit is the 1M. Apart from the Dragonfly A, nothing else requires M. So you're forced into it. And it is very easy to handle. Okay, yes, you are going to take 6 damage back, but when you look at the alternatives, if I go and put them back in again and go with the fast, the cavalry dies, the J. Edgar and kills the Dasher. The J. Edgar only dies if the Dasher overheats and sacrifices itself into the J. Edgar to kill it. The Saladin will kill it. The Spectre will kill it. The Spectre will survive because it's got ECM. The Warrior just makes a mess of it, as does the Cyrilo. The Lightning kills it and dies. The Nightshade doesn't do much. The Pinto kills it and dies. The Zephyr kills it and dies when it comes to the vehicles. Most of the mechs we've had a look at. The Hitman kills it and dies, even with those ECM. The Owens is just messy. The Scarabus gets +1 from hand to hand, so it kills it and dies. That Assassin just dies. The Mongoose we talked about. The Venom Revised kills it and dies. Crusade, the Nexus kills it and dies, as does the Raptor and the Raptor. The Fireball doesn't do a lot against most things. The Dart is just a speed bump anyway. The Stealth kills it and survives. So there's a lot more there. And in addition, you have missions like Comguard, whereby, okay, yes, you can take the hit for 7, but if he attacks your resources, you Comguard response team it and do 4 damage and kill it. You can even carpet bomb munitions in play and do 2 damage to every mech and vehicle. Doesn't require a blocker, so you can let it through if you want. So there are a lot more ways to handle it. And at 4 cost with the munitions buyout, probably wouldn't see a lot of play. Would you play 4 cost for a 023, or would you play something like the Phantom B, which with 1A, 1M, 1T buyouts is better buyouts, and it's a 153 dash. Okay, it's not the same amount of damage, but it's a lot more durable. And if you say, well, I get 2 blocks out of it, then you deal 3 damage each time. So that's effectively the same as your dasher, doing 3 overheat, 1 plus 3, 6 damage once, because it basically blows itself up. But I've actually blocked 2 things, or prevented 2 things instead of 1, then you're probably going to go with the Phantom each time. So that's the Evil Dasher deck. That's their version of it. As I said, I'm not convinced it would run these units. It is Ghost Bear. There aren't any other Ghost Bear fast stuff. I think maybe if you're going to run it these days, you might get more mileage out of Elemental Points. You might get more mileage out of Boom Wolf. It is a tempo monster because of the resource kill, and then board presence because of it. And it survived really well. It would win a lot of games by pure pressure, because you can say, I'll hit your stockpile. Okay, you've got a fast guard. I'll hit your resources instead. Or even, I'll send my Dasher Prime at your stockpile with something else. Maybe that's where the pushing the envelope comes in, to sacrifice the gut against the mongoose or something or other. And then you dash a D through with your Elite Mech Warrior, Superior Nav on tap, go again. And yes, so you could very easily lose a game very quickly with this, and this is why it won 70 or 80% of the time. When I played it, it was just a beast. If you hadn't got a fast mech, and you even having a fast mech on the table isn't good enough. It's a fast mech guarding, so you've got to get it out, and you've got to get it there, and then it's got to kill the dasher. And if it doesn't kill the dasher because you're running good old ferrofibrous armor, which I seem to have taken out of there, which is a free deploy straight out, then it's going to slaughter you and kick you for a few minutes before the game ends. So that's why it was banned. These days, I still think Elite Mech Warrior is that powerful. As it stands, it should remain banned. I think Dasher D has a number of counters these days, and it's very glass cannony, to the effect that even if you let it out, I'm not sure how many people would play it. But that's a little piece of history for you, and from way back when, about that particular deck. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you for putting up with me and let me have my ramble. And I'll leave it there for now. Anyway, I've got another thing or two in the pipeline I want to try and get off my chest if I can. It may be later. It may be at the weekend. We'll see. But in the meantime, look after yourselves.